Imagine yourself walking along an unfamiliar trail where sunlight barely pierces through the canopy and silence is broken only by the muffled sound of dry leaves beneath your feet. Suddenly, you stumble upon something strange, a relic from the past, covered in moss and almost fused with the ground. It looks like it doesn't belong there, like something from a different time or place. But this find isn't just curious, it's deeply unsettling. Why are these objects so out of context, left behind in such remote areas? In today's video, we're diving into the most sinister mysteries that the forest conceals. Get ready to uncover stories of abandoned artifacts that challenge logic and spark a primal fear, leading us to question what we really know about nature's secrets. We'll delve into the scientific terror behind these disturbing finds, exploring a world where every discovery brings us closer to the unknown. Mysterious structures. In the vast expanse of the forests, where humans rarely tread, there are structures that defy logic and awaken a primal fear. Constructions like abandoned cabins, erected without apparent purpose, emerge from the shadows like ghosts of a forgotten time. These structures, often made of weathered wood and covered in moss, seem to defy time itself, standing firm even as everything around them disintegrates. Science suggests that nature has its reasons, but the presence of these cabins hints at something more, perhaps a hidden will or the interference of forces beyond human comprehension. Delving deeper into the mystery, we encounter wooden formations that do not fit natural patterns. Twisted branches in precise geometric patterns, stones stacked in impossible towers, and even perfectly symmetrical circles, all seem deliberate, crafted by something not human. While science might offer explanations based on natural processes, what if these constructions are remnants of past experiments, abandoned when the scientific terror of their consequences became too real? Imagine the minds behind these creations and what drove them to leave them in the dark trees as a sinister reminder of what can happen when curiosity goes too far. But it is in the undercurrents, where the forest silence becomes deafening, that the true terror reveals itself. What do these structures hide? Are they refuges or traps, left to lure the curious who dare venture beyond the known? As science seeks answers, the forest guards its secrets with sharp claws, challenging anyone to uncover the truth. The journey to understand these mysteries has only begun, and the answers might be more terrifying than the unknown that haunts us. Unusual artifacts. In the depths of the forest, where sunlight barely penetrates, unsettling objects are discovered as if deliberately placed there. Old dolls with glazed eyes and frayed hair hanging from branches watch with an accusing silence. These artifacts, marked by time and neglect, seem to carry an energy of their own, a tangible manifestation of scientific terror, where science and the supernatural collide in an unsettling manner. When finding these objects, one begins to ponder, who placed them there and why? Science may suggest an explanation, but the fear whispers something much more sinister. These items, however, are not mere abandoned toys. Strange symbols carved into tree trunks, ancient runes that seem to defy time, appear deep within the forest, provoking a sense of unease that is impossible to ignore. Each symbol carries a mystery, an echo of forgotten rituals or forbidden practices. There is something profoundly disturbing about these finds, a living proof that the forest hides not just secrets, but a history of terror that defies scientific laws. What was science before now blends with fear, creating a narrative where terror and mystery are one entity. And if these finds weren't enough, there are personal items, watches stopped in time, faded photos, tattered clothing, all left behind by someone who may never have made it out of the forest. These objects silently tell stories of people who got lost in the maze of trees and shadows, stories that science cannot fully explain. Each discovery brings up more questions than answers, feeding the terror that something much greater is at play. And so, as we explore these unusual artifacts, the feeling that the forest is watching us grows, leading us to the next enigma it hides. Paranormal activity. The forest, with its tangle of trees and shadows, is a perfect stage for the inexplicable. Many who venture deep into these lands report events that defy both logic and science. There are stories of shadows moving without an apparent source, dark figures gliding between trees, observing, waiting. These manifestations, often accompanied by sudden drops in temperature, create an atmosphere of terror that engulfs all the senses. Science tries to explain these occurrences as hallucinations or natural phenomena, but the sense of fear lingers, as if something beyond our comprehension is lurking. It's not just the shadows that cause terror. Whispers, barely audible, carried by the wind between the trees, are heard. Voices calling out names of those who dare to enter the forest. Voices that seem to come from all sides and from nowhere at the same time. It's as if the forest itself is alive, communicating through means that science cannot decipher. These whispers are often accompanied by inexplicable sounds, cracking branches, footsteps that seem to follow but never approach, and even distant laughter. Each sound, each movement in the darkness, heightens the fear, creating an experience of scientific terror where the line between the real and the supernatural becomes increasingly thin. These paranormal experiences are not limited to visions and sounds. There are reports of people feeling a cold, invisible presence beside them, a sensation that they're being watched up close but by something they cannot see. This type of phenomenon challenges any scientific explanation, leading many to question whether there are forces beyond our understanding at work in the forest. Fear transforms into terror when answers become elusive, leaving only the sensation that the natural world we know is merely a facade for something much darker and incomprehensible. And so, the forest continues to guard its secrets as the next mystery awaits to be unveiled. Disappearance cases. In the silence and darkness of the forests, there are stories that go beyond mere disappearance. They turn into enigmas that torment investigators and the victims' families for decades. People who entered the forest and were never seen again, leaving behind only enigmatic traces, a forgotten backpack, footprints that suddenly disappear, or sometimes, absolutely nothing. Science strives to find explanations, disorientation, encounters with wild animals, but the real fear sets in when the evidence simply does not exist. It's as if these people were erased from reality, sucked into a void of terror where logic fails. What is even more disturbing is that, in some cases, the victims were seen shortly before disappearing, behaving strangely or appearing to hear something that no one else could perceive. Perhaps it is a distortion of space, perhaps a time anomaly, but the fact is that these disappearances defy any scientific understanding. Some speculate about portals to other dimensions, a theory that, although it sounds like fiction, starts to seem more plausible in the face of the mystery the forest presents. Scientific terror takes shape in these moments of uncertainty, where the answers seem to slip through fingers and the unknown becomes a force to be feared. But what truly sends chills down the spine is when people return, disoriented, with no memory of where they have been, sometimes changed in inexplicable ways. Their clothes, aged beyond the time they were missing, and their minds haunted by visions and fragments of memories that do not fit our reality. These survivors carry with them the terror of having been observed and returned, but not before leaving their mark. Thus, each new disappearance in the forests becomes more than just a case to be solved. It becomes a piece of a puzzle that reveals a scientific terror where natural laws bend to something darker and more incomprehensible. Animal encounters. In the depths of the forests, where humans are mere intruders, encounters with local wildlife can be as terrifying as they are inexplicable. Reports of animals exhibiting abnormal behaviors, such as wolves that seem unafraid of fire or deer that watch with an unsettling intelligence, are common among those who venture beyond the known trails. These encounters, seemingly mundane, carry with them a sense of scientific terror, where nature appears to operate under different rules. Science tries to rationalize these behaviors as mutations or adaptations, but the truth is that these animals seem to know something we do not, and that knowledge makes them far more dangerous. Then there are creatures that simply shouldn't exist. Beasts resembling known species, but with deformities that defy conventional biology. A bear with disproportionate claws, a feline with glowing eyes that reflect light in a supernatural manner, or even a bird whose song sounds like the lament of a lost soul. These encounters not only evoke fear, but also challenge our understanding of evolution and science. What caused these changes? Genetic experiments gone awry? Unknown radiation? Each encounter is a dive into scientific terror, where curiosity collides with the unpredictable consequences of tampering with the natural world. Yet the most disturbing is when these animals seem to be under some form of control, moving in synchronized patterns, hunting in silent, deadly ways, or even displaying behaviors suggesting collective intelligence. Imagine the terror of realizing that a predator is observing you with the cunning of a human hunter, but with the brutal strength of a wild beast. Science leans towards explanations involving parasites or some unknown symbiosis, but deep down, there is a palpable fear that nature itself has rebelled. These encounters serve as a grim reminder that, in the wild realm of the forest, the rules we know might only be a facade for something much more terrifying and scientifically incomprehensible. After delving into these sinister mysteries, it's impossible not to wonder, what else does the forest hide? Have you ever encountered something inexplicable during a solitary walk, or felt that eerie sensation of being watched? If so, share your experiences in the comments. Perhaps, together, we can uncover these secrets that science prefers to keep in the shadows. But to continue exploring the mysteries that the world tries to conceal, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. That way, you'll be the first to know when we reveal new stories of scientific terror that will challenge everything you thought you knew about the world around you. Until next time, remember, sometimes what we can't explain is what we should fear the most.